To order, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, the mayor had messaged me and he was out of town and was unfortunately detained, thought he could be here, but is gonna be here a little bit late. What?
No, inside joke.
It's an opening prayer. Please join me if you feel comfortable. Our Heavenly Father, please watch over us. Please help us to make the best decisions for the community, and please watch out for our community, and especially with the holidays coming up, keep everyone safe and make sure that everyone knows that they are loved and there is a place for them. In your name, amen. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Oh, wait, we don't have to.
Yeah, there's nothing to approve of.
There's no
It's a
agenda.
special meeting, so
Special meeting, so
we
the
can't
agenda
change and
cannot be
approve it
changed.
as
Okay,
what it is.
I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes of October 28th, 2025.
Approve the minutes.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Whitener, seconded by Councilman Nordine to approve the minutes of October 28th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Bills, October 29th, 2025 through November 11th, 2020. Can I get a second? Your bills. Yeah. Been moved by Councilwoman Hardikey. Do we have the bills?
They're on your page. I know you're gonna be here, sorry.
You have to go back in there.
Well, this is.
Page 5 on your tablet.
This is October 28th.
Oh. I see.
My tablet code is locked out. What's the code? See what you missed.
I printed this on the same group. No, this is through 11/11.
Yeah, that one changed.
What is Ryan Incorporated?
I don't have any discrepancy, just curious as to what the planes for and window covering was.
Which one?
Senior citizens, wasn't it? Yeah,
Planes and fill the floor and window covering. 55, 97, 70.
Oh, that's for the remodel of the senior housing.
Okay.
who does Ryan work for here?
He's the one, Riemann Construction or Corporation is the one doing the sidewalk project.
Oh.
That's right. I couldn't think
I
of
couldn't figure
it.
out where you read it.
The only other question I look like I have is the rugged depot.
That is the police department for a printer paper for our e-citations as well as a new printer for ESRL.
We're good. Is that writing citations up at the school or?
No, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
I second. It's been moved by Councilwoman Hardikey and seconded by Councilman Weidner to approve the bills of October 29th, 2025 through November 11th, 2025. Is there any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Pay application number 1, Riemann Construction, or Raymond, how do you say that? Ryman. I meant no disrespect. I just uneducated. And make a motion to approve that first.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the pay application for Ryman Construction. I think they're making good progress and turning that. So what's that? Oh, here's the,
Weather permits might actually get it all done this year.
Where we're headed, if we could, if the weather holds out.
and the approaches into the streets and.
That's good.
the
There's a
gutter
change
that
order
they're
coming on
doing.
this that will address, but to add, make a better product in the end. We'll get to that, under new business, but
Only question I had is the way it's in front of Tom's. And I thought, oh,
Where it humped over.
yeah,
Yeah, we did that because we didn't wanna put in any like
yeah,
retaining wall.
Chris explained it.
Just gotta follow the
and
curvature of the.
Tom was kind of bitter about the retaining wall if we did that for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
For this business being right there and
It would mess with the access.
yeah, that was his concern. So I think Kyle and HDR came up with the best solution.
Just gotta make a run for it when you go.
Yep,
I think it's still ADA compliant though.
it is, yep. If you wanted to go sledding, like.
Yeah, I don't know, when I was a kid,
Skateboard. It's like a skate, it's a skateboard ramp.
humping a sidewalk was never a bad thing. Any further discussion on pay application number 1 for Ryman Construction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Permits, building permit for Perry Marple.
He wrote a letter as well.
Back of the lot at 213 Maple.
I like,
So that's that yellow house
Maple.
right across from
Oh, yeah.
Mike Demick's, or I guess Bob is living there now, but
Harry Marple owns that
yeah, he owns that yellow house that's on the
corner.
west side. Yeah.
As you enter into senior housing,
No, it's right before you turn into senior housing,
Yeah.
that yellow house.
but it's adjacent into that same.
Yeah, right off the Maple.
And he's just,
My only question is this. With Perry Marple, does he have a building permit for his house on Sixth Street currently that he's building a deck on?
Being this is a special meeting, we can't go into that. I'll talk to you
Well,
later.
I'd like to table this, I guess. Till the next meeting.
we could prove it that.
That's this one right here
Okay.
across the way, and that looks really nice, by the way.
Yeah.
He's done a really nice job with tearing out that half of the building and building this deck back here.
it looks like he's just looking to put in a privacy fence where there was a privacy fence, tie it into an existing privacy fence.
Well, I'm at the point where I'm not. What's good for one's good for all, and if we're gonna approve this, then my situation is. There's other work taking place on property that he owns that I know isn't a building permit on.
Which would, in my opinion, would be a separate.
But if we take the next
issue.
step on the next piece of property, to me, that's saying we're gonna turn a blind eye to what you're doing on the other piece. And he was our town attorney, so he knows the right and wrong.
Well, I would say that. Would agree with the mayor pro tem that being that this is an individual wanting the building permit, it's not connected to that. We'll have to take action on that other issue separately from this, because they're not,
I'm not saying ignore that other deal,
but it
but
needs
to
to be
me, it's a
addressed.
separate property, separate project. Same person owns it, but I don't want to try to stop somebody from doing something right because they did something wrong over there. Still address what's being done wrong over there.
Or it's hard because we can't go into.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay, because we're talking about this building permit specifically, so we're still on topic. Because it's a special meeting, we're just limited to how far outside we can go. But
That's just my thought. It's,
I feel that building permits need to be evaluated by the town council for aesthetic reasons, for construction reasons, and doing your due diligence to make sure things are done in appropriate manner. And that's what they're for. And when building permits are not submitted and construction takes place, we'll have to file a town ordinances with enforcement or whatever that looks like, punitive. Doesn't matter who the person is.
Yeah.
And
That's where I'm.
I say that we approve this one for on Maple Street. And then,
Address anything
Address,
else at
yeah.
another time.
That's fair enough.
I agree.
Do we care about what type of wood is going to be in here? He just has wood. Well, that could be pallets, that could be 2x4s, it could be a nice cedar fence, it could
my
be
neighbor has skis.
skis, it could be skis, wood skis, you
I
know,
think they're
back.
cool.
I mean, more detail would be nice to have, I would think.
I think we could approve and follow up on what that is. Does that say in the letter?
Well, I mean, the council can, we've done it in the past where, building permits were approved on contingencies that was missing before it was actually, because once this is approved, they still have to get the actual building permit.
Right,
And I know the council's had some contingencies that were put in place that.
as long as they're
As
doing
long
it like
as,
such.
exactly, so.
Yeah,
I would- I would-
that.
I would almost guess with it being 6 foot, it's just gonna be the
Typical.
pre-paneled. You know, you buy them in, I don't know, they're like a 6 or 8 foot run and they're already 2x4, but they've got the 6 foot slat that are fenced with the little notch on the top, you know, they're.
Mhm.
Right.
You know,
So-
and it may be, but that's all speculation.
Right.
You know,
Well, I
and-
would like people to be here with the building permits on there so they can ask these questions instead
Yeah.
of conjecture and trying to figure out,
Yeah,
guessing what it's gonna
That might be
be.
something we need to look at.
I don't.
And
disagree.
history dictates with this guy, though, I haven't seen him do anything cobbled, anything.
Yeah.
No,
that's true.
no, I will agree with that.
and that's fine. I'd still like to know. So I'm fine with approving it and then we get that information in the next step of the process or something.
Yeah,
That-
so,
That is true. I mean, everything he has done has been.
yeah, so before we issue, we can clarification what it's gonna be and,
Yeah.
you know, it's not.
I guess I'm just saying it's like in kind, I guess.
I agree.
The other piece that wasn't done.
Yeah, we need to follow through with that. I agree.
But on this one, I mean, your guys' points are valid, so I'll support it.
All right. Sorry.
No,
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 I'm
I'll
fine.
second.
I'm ready. I'm.
nobody's made a motion.
I
Oh,
motion to
motioned it.
approve it.
Wait,
Tammy
no,
did.
who, ma-
I
Tammy
made the
did.
motion to approve it.
oh, I didn't hear you say I move or I
Yeah,
make the motion. I
I make the
apologize.
motion.
That's my
That's fine.
mistake.
I'll second it.
I apologize. I'm
You're
deaf in
good.
one ear, can't hear out the other. It's been moved by Councilwoman Hardicke, seconded by Councilman Whitener. We approve Perry Marple's building permit for
Maple Street.
maybe
213.
213 Maple Street. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I.
Aye. Opposed? Carries.
This is a good property.
Business license, permits B, business license rolling Frito-Lay sales.
Which I'm- circuits.
It's because they sell stuff here, so, they're just a delivery for Frito-Lay.
Oh,
So since they do business technically, Shoshoni with deliveries and stuff, they're just getting a business license for that purpose.
I'll approve the business license for rolling Frito-Lay sales.
Sorry. Can you re-say that? It's having a side conversation.
Oh, it's Frito-Lay, they don't have a physical location in town, but they do deliveries of product in town. You know,
Okay.
some asshat, let me kick them out. Give me a second.
Oh, the gang shit.
Yeah, piss off.
Who is it? Does it have a name on there?
You can go back on YouTube and get the skinny.
And they're gone.
Classic.
They're already making deliveries here and all that, so they wanted to get a business license to make sure it's on the up and up.
You already approved it?
Mhm.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Hardicke and seconded by Councilman Whitener that we approve the business license for rolling Frito-Lay sales. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. New business, change order number 1. I assume that's why you're here, Mr. Leto.
Oh, Kyle, what are you doing?
I know. This is for the Shoshoni East Side Sidewalk project, I'm assuming. So because that project came in pretty substantially under budget for what the town received as far as the transportation alternative grant. There's a little bit of room to make some further improvements that are in line with the project. And so there are on King Street and Oregon Street where those intersection legs kind of tie into the highway. Originally we had just planned on putting gravel back in those areas. We've put in curb turn fillets if everybody's seen those. And so what we're planning on doing is since we have a little bit of extra funds, and one of the comments YDOT made as when they were reviewing the plans was having kind of a hard surfacing across those intersections. And so what this change order is to when 71 construction comes to do some of their asphalt patching, to just go ahead and put asphalt in on those intersection legs. So that's what the lion's share of that change order is to cover that. There's about 43,000-ish, I think, for that. And this change order is basically we've got all of the existing bid items will cover this work. So we're just gonna overrun all of like that quantity for asphalt. We'll just pay for it under that same unit price that we have. And we'll just measure the new quantity, and at the end of the project we'll have a final quantity adjustment, and that'll be the change order. So we'll probably come back for a second change order, but this is kind of a work change directive just to approve, hey, we're going to overrun quantities and it's going to be about this amount. So that's kind of what that is. We also had a deal for the testing for concrete. In the specifications, there was a word that said weekly instead of daily when it came to concrete testing. So we have independent materials testing as a bid item in the project. And so Emberg Miller has been providing testing. So whenever we get ready to pour concrete, they come out and get a slump and air, and then they take cylinders and take them back to their smash lab and smash those cylinders to make sure that we got concrete strengths and stuff. And so unfortunately in our spec, there was a word that said that we would do that on a weekly basis, and then had kind of a laid out, up to a certain amount of quantity, and really it should just been like daily. We're going to take it on each truck that day, just for that first day, and up to like 50 cubic yards of placement, which we're putting in like 2 or 3 trucks, which at 10 yards a piece. We're never getting to that to get a second test that day. So anyways, there's about 7,500, I think, needed to just extend that to make sure we have enough. Basically, Emberg Miller said, yeah, we based our quote to Ryman on the weekly versus the, daily sort of deal. So anyways, that's
Also, we received, I think, concurrence from YDOT.
Yes.
On doing this. So
they said, yeah, they were in favor of it. And, I kind of pushed it back on them a little bit. Is, hey, you guys said that you thought having a hard surfacing would be good. Our point with that comment was everywhere else in town, we've got gravel roads, and we've had previous projects where it's cross gravel roads. So it technically is a hard surface, but, since this is right on the main drag, I think it just makes it look a little nicer, and, would be a good use of those funds. So for the total of that extension of the contract price, since the town's match is only like 9.51%, you're on the hook for that total change order amount for like $4,000 or $5,000 is all. So I figure it's a good squeeze for the juice, and you guys get to use as much of those funds as we can. Otherwise they just go back into, I don't know, the federal ether. So
My question, Kyle, is how many feet is that coming off from that curb and gutter and
so it's basically from each of those intersections has kind of a valley gutter, where the, flow line is across, which is kind of a concrete pan. And then we have those curb turn fillets. The tails of where those curb turn fillets are is what we're gonna match that into. So it varies a little bit depending on which one of those legs you're looking at, but it's probably,
8 to 10 feet.
yeah, maybe I was gonna say 10 to 20, somewhere in that
Yeah, this
range. So
map shows like 15.
yeah, so it's uh, truth be told, that we kind of had since we knew that YDOT had kind of given concurrence, those guys have already prepped it. 71's planning on being here on Monday. So not to like
Pressure, yes.
put any pressure on you, but
That's money.
those guys, we figured that
Well, there's room for it and it makes sense to do it.
and
Financial room.
we have nice weather too like coming up. So it was actually going to be Saturday, but Monday actually looks pretty good too weather-wise. So
Are those the only two? Is there any other ones that you?
4, I thought.
forecasted
Was it?
out? Well, that's 2 on 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
Is
yeah,
there any other ones as you carry out that, may need cut out or torn up that would be feasible as well? I guess I just look further down that are.
I don't think so. A Street is really the only other one down that way that would maybe make sense, but it doesn't have, it's not bounded in the same way as the rest of these. And then I'm trying to think there where the senior center is. I'm pretty sure there's already kind of a decent asphalt approach there. Or it seems like that's not as big of an issue there. And we're only doing just the one corner on that one. So I didn't really see any other spots for that. I guess A Street could be the one that's up for question. But I don't know that.
I just wasn't sure, like any of the current, whether it be maple, California pine, whatever, any of those.
Unfortunately,
Are ones that maybe need, that are potholed and maybe need cut out and done, if it be 8, 6 feet, something to find current asphalt or.
YDOT would say that's outside of the scope of our project. And so if it's not touching the current project limits, they probably would definitely, I know they would start having some heartburn on it. So it's a good thought.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
It is a good thought.
You're gonna do it, we'll do it.
Well, I mean, yeah,
This way, if they're mopped too, and let's do all these dirt approaches as well. This one is the worst. Of the dirt approach to the road, like this sucker right here is.
I got stuck there. That's why we don't have, one of the reasons we don't have, Ford, Crown Victorias anymore. I know it's a little bit off topic, but anyway.
Yeah, let's try to stick on.
I make a motion to approve this,
I'll second it.
change order.
It's been moved by Councilman Whitener and seconded by Councilwoman Hardicke to approve. Change order number 1, East Side Sidewalk Project as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Carried. Change order number 2, well house number 2.
yes. So we have well house number 5 is up and running, and so is well house 4. And so the crew moved over to well house 2. As everybody's probably aware, well 2 is the oldest well the town has on their system. It was put in the 50s. So Rob and his crew got to tearing down that old well house building, and they took the old concrete slab foundation out and started excavating around that well casing to put in our new pitless adapter. So basically that wellhead previously was inside the building. And so every time they had to pull that well string, they'd have to take the roof off and pull all that out and put the roof, put it all back in, put the roof on. So the nice part with the pitless adapters, you could do all that work outside, like the well's no longer inside of a building. And that's kind of what we did with all the other wells. Unfortunately, when they got down to where, right about where they would want to weld that on, that well casing is like Swiss cheese. It's pretty corroded. It's got a lot of holes and stuff in it. And so I had kind of forgotten about that when we were looking at that level one study, and interviewing about it, I remember in some conversations with Joel or with not Joel Buddy, that he had mentioned that one of his concerns as well too is that he thought maybe there was some chance that the well casing was flaking off inside and there might be some metal flakes or something down in the well. And it was a concern, but then we didn't get selected for the project. So I honestly didn't think about it until we were out there looking at holes in that casing. And so I don't believe as part of that level one, there was any kind of cammering or anything done. And it wasn't anything that was a suggestion for improvements when you all put in for the funds to like figure out what to do with that if it was a problem. So it was all kind of just happens sometimes when you're working on existing stuff that's got aged stuff. So what we're going to do to fix this and try to get a new pitless adapter on there and kind of limp this well along as long as we can. We did get a camera down the well. Surprisingly, the water level's only like 20 feet down. You can see it just shining. I usually take my phone and try not to drop it down in there, but the sun on the phone lens, you can usually get a pretty good visual down there, and probably 2.5 feet. So they've excavated down probably 6 or 7 feet. And so that well casing sticking up, and that the holes in that casing are probably 6 feet down. Another 18 inches to 2 feet below that, when you look down inside the casing, and when we cambered it, the casing kind of changes color. So you can see where it's pretty rusty looking, and then it almost changes to kind of a gray color that's like almost like a galvanized color. And that stuff looks like it's in better shape. And like I said, it's about 18 inches, 2 feet below where that spot is. And so what Rob's going to do is he's going to excavate down till we get to that more decent part of the casing. We're going to put the casing itself is 10-inch casing currently. So we're going to get a 16-inch casing and slide it over the top of that. We're going to cut the casing off kind of down where it's rotten and try to leave about 2 or 3 feet of that existing casing inside of that 16-inch like casing on the outside. And then we're going to fill that space between the two with grout, just to kind of make a sleeve. And then they're going to pour a concrete slab around that 16-inch casing. And then we're going to take a steel plate with a hole in it, slide it over that 16-inch casing and weld that. And that way that plate and casing kind of, the weight can basically bear on that concrete pad. And so we don't have any weight bearing on that rotten casing anymore. So that when we go to put the pitless in, there's all the weight of the pipe string and everything's going to be on that, as opposed to the old casing. And so we'll come up with that 16-inch. It'll have to get kind of a 16 to 12 reducer, because our pitless adapter is 12-inch. And so once they weld that on, then the top of that 12-inch will have kind of a threaded deal, and the pitless just threads right onto that. So basically that's the solution. That's kind of what the sum of the cost is. What we're also wanting to do with this is, because this well is in questionable shape, and it's my understanding that you guys have had to replace the pump probably every 2 years for a while now. That's kind of what I've heard. I think the goal is to stab a new one, like an offset well somewhere, probably just to the west of where that well is currently.
And with the insulation, we'll be able to tie directly into that and not.
Yeah, so we're gonna come off the pitless and put a valve and then a T, and then stub some pipe out so it's far enough outside of the fence that wherever you drill a new well, we tie into that and we don't have to dig anything else up in the site. You know, because we're gonna have a building and sidewalk and all that stuff next to that other well. Once that other well gets developed and put in, then you can either keep limping along well two as long as you think you can, or we can just fill it full of concrete and abandon it, and that valve will just be shut off and concreted in, and you'll just have kind of a 90-degree angle into the new well house. So that's kind of the goal. I think I've mentioned to Chris that, but I don't know if this has got mentioned to the rest of the council, but we would like to propose a level 2 study for the town through WWDC, and those applications usually come in the spring here. And so there's a couple different things we'd like to investigate. I've always been I've had a little bit of heartburn since that new school went in, and there evidently at the time there wasn't like DEQ basically looked at the amount of storage you guys had in the tank, and there wasn't enough water supply in the tank to provide the school with irrigation water. So the school had to go drill a well, and now they irrigate off that well. And I feel like the town's missing out on a whole lot of like water sales that you could be potentially getting. And I don't think, just talking with the guy that owns Sweetwater Gardens, he put in all that sod and stuff over there when they first did that school. He said when they turned that well on, they put brand new sod in, nice green sod, and as soon as they started spraying it with that water, it turned it yellow. So I don't know if it's gotten any better or worse, but I think that some of that investigation, we ought to talk with the school district and just see if they'd be interested in getting some better water. And so part of this level 2 study would be a storage tank, like a storage study for a new tank, elevated tank, kind of right behind well 4, kind of between the cemetery and well 4 on that ridge. And then maybe another well, either close to well 4 or somewhere around town that could help add supply. And then now that we know a little bit more about well 2, punching an offset well for well 2. And so I think
that also ties into our subdivision development, that was always going to be something on the radar, that with that we were going to bring more water supply online at some point. So this kind of feeds into that as well.
I know your previous study kind of indicated that they didn't think that you had any storage issues, but I don't think that in that entire study it mentioned anything about water sales to the school. And
no,
so I mean that's the unfortunate thing, is I think that could have impacted some of the water supply discussion, because it's a pretty big water user. That's
well,
probably
when the cemetery, before they drew their own well, it's about 30,000 a year in water sales for the cemetery, just to put it on perspective.
that's the other one too. I didn't think about. I thought
Yeah.
they were still on your system. So
No, they left her 3 years ago.
Who?
The cemetery.
RV parks on the well too.
They're on.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
school well.
So we do, we're losing a lot of infrastructure sales because our lack of infrastructure on sales that, directly impacts our water fund and our water rates and what they have to be to maintain everything.
I think a bulk water station would be something that the town could benefit from too. It may
Former
not be
Councilman
something.
Zent wanted to put a water buffalo of some sort with a meter so people can come get bulk water directly from that. So that might be something too that.
I don't know that WWDC would fund it, but at least it'd be something that we could add in the discussion as far as helping with your sales. And I know that where the town shop is, there's that old scale station, and I mean, it's a perfect spot.
That's where he wanted to have it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming this discussion's about revenue or to pay for change order number.
Yeah, I mean,
The well house, yeah, change order number 2. I'm sure that's what we're talking about.
it is,
Just
that's
stay on topic.
kind of to steer it back to that conversation, unfortunately there's a lot of rock right next to there. And so that I would say the lion's share of the cost for that is in that excavation.
Yeah,
You know, that's because they gotta bring a rock chip and hammer, you know, jackhammer out to hammer all that stuff out. And then because it's all rock, they can't use it as backfill. So they're gonna have to haul material from a borrow source at the wastewater treatment plant out. So unfortunately, that's where some of that cost is coming in. And it's just oddball stuff, you know, and unfortunately, it's more than I wanted it to be, but it is what it is at this point. And I know that's not a great thing, but you know, we're kind of at the point of, do you want well two or not? So
well,
this is what we got to do to get well two hooked up.
I guess the next question would be, funding for
So
change order two, how we would pay for that.
So it's under the existing budget, I believe. Right now, we're tracking right at budget. That's true. I don't have the fun, we're still under budget, but I mean, where we're gonna finally shake out when this is all said and done, we might go a little bit over budget. Unfortunately, kind of like with the SCADA, you know, we knew that going into the SCADA killed us. We're $300,000 over budget on that. That just wiped us out. But it's something that we didn't have a choice on. It had to be done.
The same as this.
And this is only 30,000. I can't tell you if we're gonna be over or under when it's all said and done. I think we're gonna be pretty close. That's the best entry I can do.
That's $31,958.
I just pulled up 650.
I know it's a $1.2 million project, so
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing.
I thought it was like 31 something.
yeah,
Here's the break-
31,958. Page 23.
And I think the email had kind of a breakdown of the.
The 50 was on the sidewalk, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
that one we're under budget on. Yeah, that's correct.
I think that's where you're coming up with the 50 on that, Councilman Whitener.
Got to scroll down to page 23.
So my only concern with this, Kyle. Is going wider and concreting the outside of that. Or grouting that,
Mhm.
it could still flake. So
Yeah, I mean,
it would make more sense if we could sleeve it, but then we're dropping the casing size.
yep, we did talk about putting in like a smaller, like an 8-inch diameter casing. Unfortunately, that 10-inch goes down like 400, 500 feet. And then it does neck down to like a 6-inch screen for another, I don't know, probably 400 or 500 feet below that. It's my understanding that lower casing, that 6-inch stuff has kind of sanded in, but it hasn't impacted the ability of the well to produce water. So what we'd be doing is we'd have to take a 8-inch pipe and stick it inside that 10-inch, and it would all have to be welded, because if you had anything with bells on it, it's going to be too wide to fit inside of a 10-inch. And so talking with Joey from the well servicing company, in order to use any pipe with bell on it, you'd have to go down to 7, and you can't get the pump in and out. There's just not enough room with that pump to do that. So the other option, which is what I would suggest investigating as part of that level 2, because they like to see alternatives, is a well casing lining project for that. They do make like in talking with some of the well guys that I know, it's like a cardboard type material that you can case inside of that, and then they inject epoxy into the corrugations, and so that would help kind of keep everything together. But I know one of the concerns is that just the well casing that has flaked into the deal, and this is just kind of speculation, and what I've heard Joey say and the operators say is that they're not really sure if that well pump keeps kicking out because of lightning strikes. I think that some of them probably were because of
One,
that.
yeah.
But they've also pulled it up before, and like the screens on the pump itself are full iron and kind of almost like rusted closed on some of the openings, which makes me think that maybe it is stirring, like all that stuff settles down at the bottom, and as soon as you turn the pump on, it spins all that stuff up into the water column and eventually just chokes those off. That being said, you could line it and maybe figure out a way to like float all that stuff out or inject something into the well to like agitate it and push it out. So I think there's some definite things that could get investigated, but those are all things that could happen in the future. And like what our main goal of this is just let's keep it running. Let's get a pitless adapter on it. Try to stay a little bit inside of the like scope of work that was originally intended for the project, and decide if we want to limp this one along or just cut bait and drill a new well at a certain point. So
Do you, off the top, and then this is all I got for you, but you know what it. I guess two things is where the water table is at on that, your, how many feet, and then what we're looking at to potentially drill a well. If we were to break feet and start fresh.
I'm thinking you'd want to do a more modern type of well, but of similar depth and of similar, what do they call it? Geomorphology to make sure that we're getting an equivalent amount of production as to what well two is currently producing or better. And that would be the goal of that new deal, is to replace it with something equivalent or better, and get back into that same zone. I mean, we know there's good water there now. That's kind of what our what they call those guys, hydrogeologist basically said is, I mean, you got good water there now, and there's basically what they typically do in that type of situation is they figure out what there's kind of a zone of influence that current well has that you just try to stay outside of so that you're not getting into those impacted zones, if there are any. And so that's I know I'm kind of circling around the conversation, but it would probably be about the same depth. And it depends on how we finish the bottom part of that out. Like, the screen part that goes down deeper versus the casing part where the pump sits. But I think that well currently, like total depth's like 1,400 feet or something. It's pretty deep currently. The pump only goes down. Yeah, I mean, the pump's usually sitting like 400 feet down in that well casing. So, but
What is that cost looking? Today's cost, what you're seeing?
that's putting me on the spot. I'm honestly not sure, just shooting from the hip. Like I'd hate to throw a number out and just be blowing smoke because
For $1 million.
yeah, the nice part with those is like, WWDC they like drilling wells and they like paying to do that. So really we're talking about finishing most of the cost to the town is going to be finishing that well out. And because we already have a well house in place and
And the way you're doing the pitless adapter and all,
Tie right
easy
into
to
it.
tie in.
yeah, I think the town's overall costs are going to be on the relatively low side because we won't have to put in a building and we won't have to do a lot of the things that you normally do to finish out a well. But it is a two-step process. It's usually, and they might let us combine it, but usually you have the first like level 2 part of it where you drill a test well, and then they do all the pump testing, check water quality, run through all the paces, and then you've got pretty much a developed well. And the next part of that's then you come in, put your pitless on and drop your pump down and hook all the power up and do all that stuff. So
Well, that being said, I'll make a motion to approve this to keep this well moving.
I'll second it.
Moved by Councilman Whitener and seconded by Councilwoman Hardikey to approve change order number 2 for well house number 2. Is there any further discussion?
I just have a dumb question on that. What is a pillless adapter?
a pitless adapter.
Pitless adapter.
Pitless. So
Okay.
basically what a pitless adapter is it's, I don't know if you've ever seen those things that kind of look like an elephant head. They're usually green.
Okay.
On top of the well. What that has is kind of a cap that's on that and, you know, your wiring for your pump and stuff kind of comes up and out of that, but you pull that cap off and then there's, your well string that sits down on a, either a spool or sometimes they have like a tab that the pipe has like a tab that slides into a little deal that holds the weight of all of that. The ones that we're putting in have a spool, so it all fits down through that spool, and then that sits there and the water comes up to where that spool is then, and then turns at a 90-degree angle to run into your piping, and your piping's like 6 foot underground, and that's why it's called pitless, is because you know, none of your water piping actually comes up and out of the ground. It's like basically a well without a pit, if that makes any
Well,
sense.
it does. I mean, that's, I guess that would be old technology where you had a pit for a well.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
this kind of avoids having to have that and all the confined space entry stuff, and basically your
Yeah.
well servicing guy pulls up with his rig and stands his you know,
Yeah.
tower up, and then they just pull it up and disconnect pipe as they're pulling it and spooling wire as they're pulling it out, and yeah, so
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Kyle.
Appreciate you, Kyle.
New business C, job description lieutenant. Has everybody had a chance to read through that? That was sent out last Saturday.
Yeah, I sent it out separately to everybody and I don't.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it was, yeah.
And then I sent, of course, with the original consent agenda or the council packet. Marshall's not here, but he said that everything meets the requirements for state of Wyoming, statutory requirements. That was his only comment.
Is this just to give somebody a little bit more authority in writing essentially?
Correct. So it actually gives them solidified by the town council. Essentially, you could look at it as being a assistant chief almost. A lot of the responsibilities are shared with my responsibilities, so it has a lot more administrative authority to make decisions independently of just me.
Well, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, chief, but I was asked, why are we doing this? And I said, basically, when our chief was out for months and this officer sergeant stepped up and was doing all this, this gives him the legal power to do what he's doing when we needed him to do it. Is that about
Yeah, that, and then,
maybe a
with the
little?
reorganization, trying to make it now that we have sufficient staffing levels to make it make sense where as the chief of police, I'm not having to necessarily go to an officer and say, this is what, we have a structure in place where command staff, so to speak, where these are decisions, council, whatever the town's missions are, gets conveyed to a lieutenant.
Right.
That's what a lieutenant is your second, historically. And that we have a structure of responsibility that allows me to not have to undertake all these lower level administrative tasks where I can delegate them to a lieutenant to take care of and advise me on what's going on, or I advise him what I want and then he implements it. And that frees me up from being able to have to do all those individual tasks and focus on higher level administration processes and patrol functions. So It's taking a lot of the responsibilities or sharing a lot of responsibilities that I currently have with another, and he has the authority to carry out those tasks.
The format of the description, is that a standard format? As versus, so paragraphs versus bullet points?
Yeah, so all the other ones that we have as bullet points, these ones are it's more of a paragraph because it's more of a statement than a bullet point. So it's giving more,
Directive rather.
yeah, there's more, it's not condensed into like straight bullet points, like, one half paragraph or half sentences, one sentence statements or smaller. It's giving paragraph statements. So just more context to what, that's why it's not necessarily in bullet points. I know this one's unique, and so is the chief one, just because of the broadness of it. They're not just strictly bullet points.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Well, it does. It just ease of reading, bullet points are.
I forget
bullets.
I forget you like specific grammatical types of things. I'll make a special Councilman Nordine copy
With bullet. points.
with bullet
Just
points.
Put a dot before every paragraph, right?
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
But that's why. So it's still typical KSAs
Mhm.
that you would see in a job description, just more focused and just more.
Yeah, that's fine. I just was curious, the format is the format. I get that.
Is this pay range the current lieutenant pay range already?
So, well, this is a new position, so no. So what the pay range that suggested, the minimum pay range on this is the same as the chief pay range. We never adjusted any of those, so it's a low level. It's the same as the chief. It's actually the same as the sergeant. So right now, our lowest pay range for sergeant, lieutenant, and chief of police at the very low end is all the same. But that's something we've never adjusted. It's just staying the same. No one's making the lowest possible pay, but I believe the previous town council just wanted the ability, just depending on, the future, not being locked into exorbitantly high starting wages, just having that discretion to be able to budget. I'm not that anyone makes that, but
That would be something to look at in the future, because I mean, with having different grades has different pay ranges.
and I kind of suggest that if you remember the budget process and trying to come up with a gradient system.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of putting in well, I guess I'm losing my thought here, the terminology, but it's basically a step raises for time of service. And the mayor didn't like that because it set, and I think you didn't like it either, because it set the town into a position where they had to give pay raises, even if we didn't budgetarily have the money to do so. And so we didn't go any further with implementing that. But that's something we can certainly look at doing as a typical,
Yeah, well,
without those step pay raises and stuff
The only
like that.
downfall of it all is if you have a overly qualified individual, and this is our median, it gives you no flexibility to capitalize on a qualified candidate.
Well, it goes
You
from,
know, no,
The
I mean,
upper end of the pay range.
yeah, it goes from
well,
58 to 81.
this does, and so does the other way, but what I'm saying is, if we don't have that in place, then we're, if we're only set at this bottom range in this pay scale, like we've got to take some other things in account too. If you have an officer, or a town clerk,
Or a lieutenant, because that's what we're talking
lieutenant,
about.
right, or sergeant, or whatever.
Or lieutenant, because that's what we're talking about.
Irregardless, it
That's the
doesn't,
only thing we can legally talk about
but,
because it's a special meeting and an agenda.
okay, well,
I get what you're saying, and so the salary range is,
$23,000 salary range.
so I mean, it can go up to 81,000 as far as this one proposed is, which is at the top would be $39 an hour. Low end would be 28. So I'm just breaking it down. So it'd be from $28 an hour to $39 an hour, depending on the qualifications
my
of that.
point with it all is instead of just kicking the dog here, is I want you to have flexibility to capitalize on the person that is gonna benefit us
Sure.
instead of being locked into a low amount of number, because not everybody deserves that top or low end range.
No, absolutely. And
To
that's
have the flexibility to give what they desire based on their skill set.
correct. And
I make a
so,
motion to approve the damn thing, because I'm irritated.
I'll second it.
It's been moved in by Councilman Whitener and seconded by Councilwoman Hardikey to approve the job description for a police lieutenant. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. And opposed? Carried.
I make the motion, we adjourn this place.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?